Okay, so Aldi had fabulous deals on lamb this week. They had butterflied leg of lamb for $6.50 a pound, which is pretty good. Although you can routinely get it at Sam's Club, not butterflied, so you'd have to do a little home butchering yourself for about $6 a pound. But they do have boneless leg of lamb at Sam's Club. However, to get it all butterflied at $6.50 a pound is a quite a good price. It's usually about 10. But that's nothing compared to this, which I also found, and I was like, yes, because I've never made this. I've heard about it being prepared under rationing conditions in Britain, and they used to just call it breast of lamb. And then I think it experienced like a resurgence in popularity. BlueCon? Yes. In the 1960s, because it was the sort of thing where like you could have lamb but not pay $1 million for it. I'm exaggerating slightly. So this is $3.29 a pound, and we've got, how much do we have here? Where's my glasses? There we go. It is almost 3 pounds in this package. So the big question is it going to fit in the Instant Pot? I had a very hard time finding recipes for breast of lamb at all in the Instant Pot. There was only one that I could find. She used different seasonings, but I'm hopeful that this will fit. I guess we're going to find out. Apparently, it's a 45-minute on pressure, and then you let it like self-release or some people say natural release. Anyway, it has a lot of bones. However, it's supposed to be very flavorful. We're not going to eat this today. I'm going to put it away after it's cooked, let it cool, and then have it with lentils after I pull out all the bones. Because half of this family doesn't mind bones, and the other half of the family is like, no, no bones, please. Oh, that is going to fit. Okay. All right. What are the bones? You know what? It looks almost like, I think it is. I think this is like the offcuts of rack of lamb. Interesting. Yeah, so it's kind of like it's either what's left after they trim up the rack of lamb or something else entirely. So there's a whole triangular portion here that apparently has no bones, and then you've got the whole called split lamb breast plate. So yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. So yeah, that's got to be the midline. Interesting. All right, so we're gonna put both of these in here, and then I'm gonna wash my hands and throw this away. So in the recipe, it generally said like make sure you add at least 3 cups of water, and then she was also using garlic and lemon juice, which I'm going to use, and some onions. And when I was digging around for onions, I was like, I don't actually need a whole lot of onions. And we went out for breakfast, and this came with my pozole, which chopped onions are traditional on pozole, but I never put them on. And then we also had way more salsa than we will ever use. So this is all going in there as well. So we'll pop in, this looks like about 2 tablespoons of onions. We're going to pop that in there. And then the salsa was not listed in her recipe, but I'm like, we have all this salsa. We're never going to go through all of it. If you want the same results, but you don't have fresh salsa from your local Mexican place, I suppose you could use jarred, or you could use pico de gallo. You could just use regular tomatoes and some extra onion. Whatever you want, really. This is kind of like a wing it recipe. All right. And then she also said, I believe, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is, lid's breaking. Okay. That's probably more than 2 tablespoons. Oh, well. We're living dangerously today. And then garlic. Just like with the leg of lamb, I feel like with lamb, the appropriate amount of garlic is too much garlic. That's probably, honestly, about 3 tablespoons. I'm just going to make sure this is all getting on the lamb and underneath it so that it doesn't stick. Although, in my opinion, in my experience, with Instant Pot cooking, things don't generally tend to stick to the bottom of the Instant Pot. If you don't have enough fluid in with whatever you're cooking, it will just stop cooking and you'll get like an error. I can't remember what the error says because I've never gotten it. But it basically, if there's not enough fluid in there, a little more. This 4 cups, right? $32 ounces. Yes, it's 4 cups. So we're gonna do 75% of that. All right, so it's not totally submerged in the liquid, but it's close. Let me bring the camera over and give you a look at it. That is roughly what it looks like. So now what we're going to do is get it started. For that, we need the lid. Making sure the gasket's in here. And then we're going to turn this to sealing. So there's venting and there's sealing. We want it on the ceiling. Well, not literally on the ceiling, but you know what I mean. Lock it in place, and we're going to do manual. She said 45 minutes. I'm going to go with it because I think it's probably one of those situations where it needs enough time to cook, to get all the connective tissue. Lamb is not a tough meat in general, but I think the idea is you want to get all the connective tissue nice and soft and tender. So we'll be back when it gets more exciting. Okay, it's hours later. And this should be, well, yeah, this looks pretty cool. What are we looking at? Oh, definitely very tender. Okay. So we're going to debone all this, but I'd like you to be able to see like what it looks like in the Instant Pot. And that is what it looks like. Okay, so hours later, it's all cooked. The photo of what it looks like in the Instant Pot, I've already seen that. So now we're going to pull it all out and debone it. It should be interesting to see how hard or difficult this is. Oh, turns out the bones come out super easy. All right. How easily? Extremely. So I'm not even going to try and get this on camera. We'll come back when it's deboned and stuff. Okay, that whole process was very interesting. Turns out the bones come out, 90% of them come out super easy. You literally just pull on it and they come out. There is a longer bone in there that runs alongside, well, where all the ribs are attached to, I assume. And this one was a little more finicky to get out, and there might be another one in there somewhere. So this is going to go in the fridge, and we're going to mess around with this tomorrow after it's fully solidified, I guess. But the texture of the meat is like, imagine pot roast, but a lot richer. There's a lot more natural fat in this. So I think this is actually going to be quite delicious, and I'm going to make lentils with it, with the broth. But the broth also has a lot of natural fat in it. So this is going to go in the fridge, and we're going to take the fat off tomorrow because it's going to take overnight for that to solidify. Luckily for me, we have a sunroom that is pretending to be a refrigerator right now. So we're going to take advantage of that cold weather to make that all happen. This is actually going to go in the fridge. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day, and we're picking up where we left off. So after Instant Potting the breast of lamb, we ended up with a lot. I have no idea how many cups this holds, but I'd be very surprised if this was less than 4 cups of broth. And that was vegetable stock, some chopped onions, not a whole lot, and a bunch of leftover fresh salsa from the Mexican place we go to. Once it all chilled down for a couple of hours in the sunroom, we also ended up with a nice layer of lamb fat, which also has a lot of those savory elements. The onion, the fresh salsa. I would estimate that's probably about a 3/4 cup of lamb fat. And looking at this, Flufon, yes, I can understand why breast of lamb was a very popular cut during World War II rationing period in Britain, because your butter was rationed, your margarine was rationed, your cooking fat was rationed, your oil was rationed. So if it was a choice between, say, ground beef, generates some fat but not a lot, or another equally cheap cut like breast of lamb, which had a ton of bones but also generated all this, I know which one I would pick. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the broth to cook a half, this is a pound package, of lentils. Yes. So what we're going to do, we're going to dump the boiling water out of here, put the lentils in. Now, they don't have the cooking directions on the back of the package like they usually do, but they do have a recipe for lentil soup. We use that as a rough gauge, so that's a half a pound, which is what they have for the lentil soup. Yeah, they used to have like cooking instructions on the back, but they don't. It's kind of wild because they used to call it stuff like economy dish or whatever. And it was basically like the cooking time, how much beans to use, and stuff to add, like a ham hock or smoked turkey necks or whatever. So in the lentil soup, they say 4 cups for a half a pound, but we don't want soup. We want lentils as a side dish. So I think I'm going to start off with 2 cups of broth, and we'll add more as we need them. And if I recall correctly, lentils take about 25 minutes to cook. So we're going to bring this to boil, turn it down to low, and then come back when it gets more exciting. And I already have cooked rice, so I don't need to make a fresh batch of rice. We just need to warm it up. All right, back when it gets more exciting. So we're getting close to the lentils being done. It ended up taking a lot longer than I thought. By the time it's all said and done, it's going to be more like 45 minutes. Well, no, I'm going to need that lid. So what I'm going to do while I wait for that to finish is warm up the lamb. So this is like all the deboned, well, it's not all the deboned. It's a smallish portion of the deboned lamb. And I'm just going to heat it up, small pan, with some of the extra broth. Old-fashioned way, before people had microwaves. Bouillon, yes. I actually remember pretty clearly when my parents got a microwave and how exciting that was. I'm trying to remember. I think I was like 12, maybe 13. So this would have been like the mid-80s. And it was a big deal. And the interesting thing about it is when they first started to become mainstream, there was actual cookbooks. And it was like it would give you recipes to make things in the microwave, like bread. And I think it was before realizing that the main purpose of a microwave was basically just to reheat leftovers and heat up microwave entrees. And I do remember microwave entrees. Actually, let's give this a taste. Do you remember in the beginning, microwave entrees came with these little gray pieces of paper. Sometimes it actually like a gray sleeve that you would put the hot pocket in or whatever. And it was a crisping sleeve or thing, crisping tray. I don't even know if they still have them. I don't know if they're safe, but it seemed like a lot of the entrees had them. I don't even know how they worked, or if you can still get them. I should look that up. That's almost done. Not quite, but almost. That needs like maybe 5 minutes. Okay. So, enough about microwaves and microwave nostalgia. But I do remember it being super exciting because we were not the last family in our neighborhood to get a microwave, but we were definitely not the first. My parents were still, well, my dad's still alive. It's a different era, and parents were even more frugal and cheap than me, which is saying something. All right, so we'll come back when that's fully hot and when that's done. Okay, I think everything's done. Let's give this one last shot. Got kind of that distinctive look that lentils get when they're finished. See if my visual skills are still as good as they should be. Yep, that's done. All right. What do I need? Got the lamb, got the lentils. Floof on? Yes, floof is on. Tzatziki. And a clean spoon. All right. Now, I think a small plate is all we need here. All right. Not exceptionally hungry. Had a huge lunch. Moderate sized scoop of lentils. And then, where's my fork? There's my fork. Yeah, the broth from this lamb is like a flavor explosion. The texture is very similar. I had some last night to like pulled pork, but it's lamb. Do I need a knife? Probably not. Let's grab one anyway. Expect we're gonna want tzatziki too. We have that. All right. See if it's any good. Should be. I've tasted both of these already. All right, I'm gonna taste some of the lamb. Just plain. It's tender and rich without being greasy, if that makes sense. I think it'll go well with the tzatziki. I think it needs something. It definitely has a very mild flavor, but it's got all the tomato and onion and garlic and oh, there was cilantro in this also too. So all those flavors in there. Actually, not gonna lie, if you took that and put that in a tortilla, that would make a really good taco. It has the same texture of like the shredded beef and the seasonings that you would find in most like small scale Mexican places. Almost like birria. Oh, the lentils are good too. Big surprise there. Let's get a bite of with everything. It's not as good as the butterflied leg of lamb, but for an exceptionally cheap cut, the whole breast of lamb, I think it was under $10. It was either 7 or 9. I'll find the price and add it all up. Lentils are cheap. That's probably about $1 worth of lentils. The broth was like stock. One of those quarts of vegetable stock at Aldi's is a little over $1. So $1 worth of lentils, $1.50 worth of stock, whatever the meat costs. And I am saying conservatively, there was actually more meat on that than I was expecting. I would say as long as everyone's okay with eating a modest portion of meat, you could get at least 6 servings out of that breast of lamb. But you'd need to serve it with kind of like a hearty side dish, like lentils. And if you really wanted to make sure people were happy with a modest portion of meat, I would add rice or naan to that as well. I don't think, if you've got the meat, the lentils, and the rice, I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of unhappy or hungry people. All that said, I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5 because it's really good. It is by no means a quick dinner. This one requires some time. I think from start to finish, because the first cooking session was yesterday, and that was a good 2 hours. Although, once you put it in the Instant Pot, it's pretty fuss free. And then today, it was easily probably another hour cooking the lentils, heating things up. So it's not a quick dinner, but it is definitely a budget dinner. So that's about it. If you like this kind of content, I do lots of cooking videos, produce unboxing, product reviews, a little bit of travel content, random stuff. So if you like that kind of boring stuff, come on over to my channel. Think about hitting like and subscribe. It does help me out. But even if you don't, have a fantastic day.